The project is Introduction to Toastmaster Mentoring. Please help me welcome Denise Collazo.
Thank you. Thank you. Can you get this back? He said you could look up to me, but not really. But thank you. So our Toastmaster has agreed to hold up my little prop here. So you'll understand it in a moment. That's not me. I wish it were. But this is a little award. You can just put it here. It's okay.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's fine. So good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
It's good to see you all. It's wonderful. Can you all hear me back there? Awesome. About 15 years ago, when I lived in Tampa, my husband and I decided to start a small business together. And I learned one very important lesson, which is if you want to test a relationship, go in together as a small business. Right, Robert? Yeah, that's what I thought. In that process, we started a business called All Weather Tree and Landscaping. It was a full-service company that did tree service, landscaping, mulch, irrigation, landscape design, the whole thing. It's like one-stop shop. And by the time we sold it, we had gotten into 50 Checkers drive-in restaurants here in the region, the statewide ABC Fine Wine and Spirits, and the County of Hillsborough School District. And I learned 3 very important lessons about being a protege. And that's why the title of this speech is called Follow the Leader. Because I learned some things about how to be a protege by being a really bad protege. That's what I did. One thing you need to know about being a protege is that a protege needs to be willing to learn. Well, I had learned as a child how to be a good salesperson, because when I used to come home with chocolates or magazines or walkathons, my dad would never take them to his work. He would tell me to go out and sell. So I used to knock on, imagine me like this big, with my little glasses, knocking on the door, asking, would you like to buy some chocolates? Will you sponsor me for the walkathon? I mean, I was cute. So they used to buy. And so for our tree and landscaping service, I used to knock. I basically would walk door to door, and I would say, hey, did you know that your tree needs trimming? Or did you know that that palm tree's dead? Or whatever. I'd give them a quote. I would email it to them right there. And I had a couple assets that most people who are trying to sell you tree service doesn't have. 1, 2. 2 assets. So I was very good at selling, but I wasn't so willing. I wasn't as willing to learn how to plant 100 ligustrum plants in front of International Mall in 100-degree heat. I just wasn't really interested in learning that. I also wasn't interested in dragging Robolini palm fronds 100 feet to the dump truck. I wasn't. Have you ever seen the thorns on Robolini palms? Anybody have Robolini palm? Those little small ones that come up with like 3? Those suckers are like this big and they are vicious. They're coming after you. The second thing I learned is that in order to be a protege, you need to have less experience than your mentor. And so my husband grew up in a farm in Puerto Rico. They had coffee, they raised oranges, he just knew about trees and fertilization and how to toast coffee, all this amazing stuff. I knew nothing about those things. And one of the things that I learned, actually probably the most important thing I learned what a ligustrum plant is and a Robolini palm, which are not things I grew up knowing or really cared about, and for real. But I learned that he grew up in that environment and he had such an incredible work ethic and the ability to withstand physical labor outside in the heat. And to this day, I have still not found a person who can work harder than him or has more focus and discipline. And so that was a really good lesson for me. I learned from him by the fact that he had more experience than me. The third thing I learned about being a protege is that you have to be willing to ask questions, but not too many questions. So I am a person who requires about 100 times more words than my husband. Rachel, can you relate? Maybe? I don't know, just wondering. So when the guys were digging around a Checkers drive-in restaurant trying to find where the heck the broken irrigation pipe was that was installed before the Civil War, the guys just really did not appreciate when I would hover over them and say, why didn't they create a map when they built this thing? Who's got the map? What is a bladder anyways? They just, I don't know, they weren't having it. I can't understand why, really. But those three things that I learned about being a protege and having a mentor were really important to me. And I really feel like if you want to test, like I said, Robert, if you want to test a relationship, go into business with someone. Mm-hmm. And so the moral of this story is sell the business, keep the marriage, and hang the plaque on the wall. Thank you.